But what gives you the right to say that? I mean, maybe that's how women want their relationships, those women. I mean, you're making these vast generalizations.
I'm a clinical psychologist.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? You are now listening to the Find the Stone podcast. It's your host, Adi, and today is January 29th, 2018, and I still don't believe we live on the ball.
And I'm Bobby Katie, and the only thing I know is that I know nothing at all.
Today we have my boy from we go way, way back.
2 decades.
Yeah, man. Jason, a.k.a. Brody Griswold.
Peace. What's going on?
Chilling, man, chilling. So, thank you for coming, man. I know it was kind of short notice.
Thank you for
We didn't even know if we were really gonna do this today, but we're here.
But it worked out.
Yeah, and Bobby's here, so we're good.
And I showed up, so that's disappointing for most of you, I'm sure.
So yeah, man, how's your week been, man?
Pretty good, pretty productive. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, starting to do stuff, getting the game a little bit more. Nothing too. I didn't go to Gasparilla. Was this weekend?
Oh, you didn't?
I did not go. Of course not. That would be. I just don't understand Gasparilla. Like it's funny because like these protests. What was the biggest protest in Tampa? You think ever?
I'm not sure. I know back when I was in high school, they were talking about shutting down the strip clubs and stuff, and people were bugging out about.
Oh, go
that.
figure. Yeah, that's the one that took Tampa over the edge, right? But like even the women's march that happened, I didn't see them. But
there was a women's march.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
Some girl was trying to get off work for it. She didn't get off, and I was like, look, I'm glad you're here at work with us because it would have been weird you being the only one out there that you had a job to go to. You know. But Gasparilla,
I would have loved to have gone to that.
500,000 people, like we can't get together for a social reason, but like, if you're celebrating a fake pirate's birthday or whatever, you'd be able to do it.
Yeah. I saw some women's marches going around the country, and it's horrible. They got this little girl dressed as a vagina talking about fuck your fucking feelings.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
Just being the change they want to see.
Exactly.
That was crazy. So, Jason, I don't know anything about you. What do you do?
I am a jack of all trades, master of none. I do music. I do hip hop music. I write lyrics. I am a new business owner. I own a junk removal business called Junk in the Trunk Hauling and Removal.
Nice.
And that's what I do during the day.
Okay, cool.
So
what's your going rate?
It kind of depends. It's like I try to be the cheap guy. So if everything can fill the back of my 60 cubic feet truck, I'll charge you like $75.
Okay,
oh, that's not bad at all. Hell yeah.
So if you need junk removed,
absolutely.
Call Jason.
Yeah, call Jason. Call Junk in the Trunk Hauling and Removal. Yeah. Friends don't let friends drive junk.
That is good.
He's a lyricist, man. That's how that shit comes like nothing.
You combined your entrepreneurial style with your lyrics. This is great.
I'm getting good at this shit, man.
That's that was like me because I did music for a while, and I always I didn't really see myself as like a natural talent in music per se, but I loved writing.
Right.
So like for like family businesses, like whether it be like my cousin, like I would write like the slogans for and stuff like that. That's really like cool. I was way better at that than actually being in any part of the business. Wow. Yeah.
No business inputs, no marketing strategies, none of that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is marketing, I guess.
That's
for
marketing
writing.
strategy,
Yeah, it is.
I was gonna.
It's a very short job, though.
I told Adi that I kind of wanted to speak to you about like the parallels of writing comedy versus writing lyrics.
Oh, there's tons.
I mean, I'm sure later on we'll touch on that, but I was interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of
it. Yeah,
it's funny because like I think the one good thing for me was I started off in music.
Okay.
So I saw the connection, and I like you can take it all the way down to DJing and compare that to comedy, and you can compare all kinds. Because like to me, what I've learned, all you're doing is I think and you learn a lot about the world. It's just about maintaining the energy.
Okay.
In a room, you want cause you're not always gonna have those moments. Just like a a hip hop artist or any kind of musician where you're like, they're blown away. There's like ebbs and flows. There's ups and downs. So not everything's going to be like a home run joke. In my case, never. But it's just the parallels just go on forever. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
The writing process, I'm still not even sure of.
Right.
You just.
This guy likes to downplay his skills. He's in a tournament coming here next month where he was. How many people were total in this tournament?
64.
64, and he's what, 4 left?
Yeah, final four.
Final four. Yeah, so you know this guy. Self-deprecating.
I'm laughing over like he's naturally funny.
There's a good amount of luck involved in those kind of things too. I think in anything in life you got to be good at what you do, and there's going to be a certain amount of luck involved.
Yeah, and you got to know a lot of friends too. Like, yo, come and vote for me,
please. Please. It turns out I'm not funny at all. I just have friends that like didn't have anything to do better on a Saturday night. So.
That's what it is. I'll be there, man. I'll be there on the next. The next one is on a Sunday though, right?
Sunday, February 18th. Yeah,
I got my tickets.
Yeah, come on out. It'll be fun.
Do you know how many tickets are still available for that?
I would say it's about over 60-70% sold out. So jump on it.
Okay. Yeah,
if you want to go. Now I got a question to you about your writing.
Sure.
How do you write?
I mean, with me, it's kind of a 2-step process, right? Mm-hmm. For me, it's one of two things. I'll either already have an idea that I put music to, or the music will kind of dictate what I write. Yeah. So that's pretty much it.
That's the other thing.
I feel it out.
I found out too is like everyone wants to know like, oh, what's your it differs from time to time. You know, like even with comedy, it's like most of the time it's like you're in the moment and you have to interrupt somebody and be like, hang on, I gotta put this and then you kind of just jot an idea down and then you come back to it later when you have the time to actually write and like, think about what you actually want to put down.
Man, I recently saw the film The Big Sick.
I heard about that movie. Yeah,
the kid from Pakistan.
Yeah,
he's so funny, man. He's hilarious. But part of it was like their writing process, right? They were showing like the behind the scenes shit that people don't normally see. But they were writing shit on napkins, like and just regular stuff, regular life shit. That was really good though. Mm-hmm. It was so funny. It's like, damn.
You know what writing is pretty good? This show called This Is Us. It's like a family movie.
Yeah, the NBC show.
Yeah, man, that shit is good.
Yeah, everyone just tells me how much they cry from it, so I'm kind of steer away from that.
Yeah, it's tear-jerking, man. Yeah. I haven't cried yet.
I'm just depressed enough on a normal basis. I don't need to tune in at 8 o'clock on a Thursday to have another reason.
Yeah, it's good. It's the way that it shows different perspectives,
right?
And it's serious and it's funny. Mm-hmm. It's really good. I like it. But one thing I wanted to know with comedians though, like, how do y'all remember all that shit?
I spend a lot of time practicing. Like I really you just gather your stuffed animals and you put them in front of you, and hey guys, what do you think's up with names. This? No, but and a ton of it is a lot of time you forget a bunch of stuff that you're going over. But in the past week, I've hit an open mic just about every night. I might even try to make it out to Dunedin tonight to do another one.
Okay.
And
just make sure we finish on time then.
Oh, who cares? But I'll show up either way. It's just going to depend on if I'm telling jokes in front of 10 people or 5 people.
Yeah. Right. Your career is more important than this right now.
This is a part of my career. And this is what I was talking about with somebody the other day. It's like everything you do in life should be about like building your brand, however you do it in whatever way. But it's the people that don't have, like, they're not driven enough to, I just, and we'll get into it with this video at some point, but like, you just see like there's just this over like victim, like I am the victim, like, and people don't want to go through the struggle of like, hey, sometimes life is going to suck and you're never like, people want to come out and do like 2 open mics and think they're ready to like have a Netflix special.
Wow. Yeah.
And you're like, dude, but you're not good. Yeah. you gotta bomb a lot.
Yeah, you gotta
you're
suck,
gonna be
right?
good
You gotta
at this.
suck. Yeah, man. It's true. People, they just don't want to go through the tough shit.
Yeah, they don't.
And like how we were talking about the other day with the whole positivity stuff, where it's just like, if it's not positive, I don't even want to talk about it. It's too rough, and it's sad, man.
Yeah. That's one of the things. What's his name? Mark Manson brought up in the book in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's like people are so, they want their egos to be fucking stroked. And they want everything to just, You know, there's a meme that says, I think it was like, oh, Instagram, my picture got 30 likes. Like, I'm ready for the big leagues. Yeah. The fucking modeling contracts are going to all of a sudden start coming and shit. So,
yeah, there's this, you seen that show, Black Mirror?
No, I've heard of it.
Bro, you got to watch that. On the last season, there's this episode where everybody's walking around with like a little cloud that shows how many followers they have and stuff like that. Bro, it's great.
This is why I refuse to watch that show, because it's just going to be the inner workings of my mind. And I'm like, oh God, other people think this too. You know, like, we're doomed.
And they're pretty much walking around like, well, don't talk to her. She's only got 1,000 followers. You know? And if you give her a like, that's going to bring your shit down. And it's almost
that plays to like the deep inner parts of your mind that you actually think about. Right. And I've heard Jordan Peterson talk about it before, where it's like you're that dark part of your brain is like the collective unconscious of everyone. And everyone taps into those feelings every now and then of like, if I like this, then, you know, like maybe I won't get as many likes because this person only gets so many likes. And we're all guilty at some point.
I'm just pulling something up here. I want to, this video here that I saw the other day.
I like how when you typed in how to, the first thing that popped up was how to sext a text.
I love just typing in how to into Google and YouTube.
How to sext a text was the very first thing that YouTube thought you wanted to look up. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with your internet history or some sort of fancy algorithm.
There's something I want to tell you about the stress and how we have to look at stress, okay? And I think it's an important thing because many people have told me from my lectures it's the one thing they remember, okay? I was sitting in a dentist office and looked at an article that said, how do lobsters grow? Well, I don't care how lobsters grow, but I was interested in it. And it points out that a lobster is a soft, mushy animal that lives inside of a rigid shell. That rigid shell does not expand. Well, how can the lobster grow? Well, as the lobster grows, that shell becomes very confining. Right? And the lobster feels itself under pressure and uncomfortable. It goes under a rock formation to protect itself from predatory fish, casts off the shell, and produces a new one. Well, eventually, that shell becomes very uncomfortable as it grows, right? Back under the rocks. And the lobster repeats this numerous times. The stimulus for the lobster to be able to grow is that it feels uncomfortable. Right? Now, if lobsters had doctors, they would never grow. Because as soon as the lobster feels uncomfortable, goes to the doctor, gets a Valium, gets a Percocet, feels fine. Never gets off its shell. So I think that we have to realize that times of stress are also times that are signals for growth. And if we use adversity properly, we can grow through adversity.
That's why nobody's growing. Because they don't want to go through the tough shit. It's just like, oh, I can't do it. You know, and they just quit, you know, or start popping pills or whatever the hell, you know. But
do you think if you like gave a lobster a Percocet, he would just stay in his shell?
Probably something, you know, trick his mind into thinking everything's gonna be all right. You know?
Fucking Netflix and chill.
It's so true though, man. Just to like, everyone just wants that escape. They don't want to feel that struggle. Right. It's the same people that like end up on My 600-Pound Life. You know,
I don't know how they even get there, man. I mean, the second I can't see the toilet, it's a wrap for me. Yeah. I'm like, my life's changing. Right? Yeah, but how do you? You blame other people, man.
I'm sorry, but how do you shit? Like,
how do you wipe yourself?
These are the things I think of. I'm like, looking at these people. I'm like, what do you do? Like, we're so close to the point of just building toilets into our sofas or something, like, so we just never have to move.
Yeah, like Idiocracy.
Oh, they do that on that?
Yeah, this is the sofas. They got the toilets built in. Or you ever seen WALL-E?
WALL-E.
It's a Pixar
the
movie.
Robot, the little robot joint. No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. It's like you know, in the future, and just everybody's lazy. They're running. They don't even walk. They just got like hoverboard chairs that take them everywhere and shit. Yeah.
Jesus,
that's the future, man.
That's what Walmart looks like.
It does. The one on US 19.
You should see the one near me, bro.
Fucking motorized school.
Yeah,
Well,
but you're like in the city though, bro. You go
is-
out here to Newport Richie.
that's more like white people, meth addicts,
Yes.
pill problems.
Yes,
Gotcha.
that's what's going on.
Yeah. Mine is just ghetto. Like, there's the Publix near my house, which I love Publix, right? I've always had a great relationship
The one
with
on
Publix.
Nebraska you go to?
Is it Nebraska?
It's like close to Hillsborough?
Yeah, it's close to Hillsborough. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
And like, I always do this thing where I do the online ordering, you know? So I got plenty of time. And I don't go till 30 minutes after the time it's supposed to be done.
Make sure.
Yeah, I show up, there's a line. I'm like, I did the online ordering. I'll be
Or the
fine.
pub sub?
Yeah,
All
just
right.
pick up and peace out, right? This lady's like, yeah, we don't got that. Like when I got just flat out, she's like, yeah, we didn't do that. And I'm like, all right, I'm never coming back to this Publix again.
Oh shit.
Yeah, customer service in some of these ghetto places, like the DMV in Town and Country.
Oh,
My
shit.
goodness, bro. You be
Oh yeah, off of Waters. Yeah,
Is it
that the
there?
one? Yeah,
it
like
that
near
one?
the vet. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking. I've
Yeah.
been in there before. Yeah.
Yeah, I moved up here and there was like 100 people in the DMV and I was out of there in 5 minutes.
Yo, I love that shit.
The 41?
Yeah, the one on
Dude, I make
41,
a
that's the best
vacation
one.
out of that. Anytime I got to go to the DMV, I make the drive all the way down here because I'm like 5 minutes and I go to Larry Subs and
Yep.
it's good to go.
Oh, Larry Subs.
Best Cuban you ever had.
They still up there?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go over there soon. I thought they were gone.
Yeah. Now we're getting into the real issues.
Food, like always.
Yeah.
So now today, what we want to talk about is Jordan Peterson's interview that he had on Channel 4 News. He's got a new book called The 12 Rules for Life and Antidote to Chaos. And I was checking it out at Barnes & Noble the other day. I ain't buy it yet because I got too many damn books to read. But this is one that's definitely on my list. And there's a clip in this interview that hopefully we get to. But if we don't, I'll just skip to it. That is going all over the internet where she's pretty much telling him like, why is it okay if, your free speech is offensive and whatnot? He's like, it's like,
You're trying to get
you're
back.
doing the
Yeah.
same, you're
right.
doing the same. And that little clip blew up all over the place. So I was like, okay, I want to talk about this. And I saw the first 5 minutes of this and I was like, man, we could go on forever just right there.
Yep.
For people that don't know Jordan Peterson, you want to tell them?
He's a clinical psychologist. I would say like his views are actually somewhat moderate if you really listen to him, but he's been accused of being like a part of this like alt-right kind of side.
Gotcha.
And he makes it very clear that he's, as he does in several parts of this interview, like he's not like here to like really promote an agenda. He's just telling you his observations from years of experience, 40 years of being in clinical psychology and more so laying out the facts versus like everyone's freaking
That's
opinion.
it. Exactly. He's very sane. He's very logical. He's not.
It almost
confusing. It's very
frustrates
easy to
her.
understand. That's what it is. It's like this guy's just making too much sense.
Right.
Like that.
It doesn't make for good media. You know what I'm saying?
It actually ends up making it great for media, even though it looks like an idiot. Because like the fact that like, and I'll talk about this, but she'll still get those views.
Yeah.
She'll still, and she brings nothing to the table.
Yeah,
That's true.
it's like remember that little clip that I sent you the other day with the girl's ear going into it? It's like one of those things. Like it's a meme. It says when you're making too much sense to your girl, her ear just like went ahead and
The
tucked
top
itself.
of her ear tucks itself in the canal.
Yeah, and it was one of
shit.
these like you got to go through with the interview. You
Right,
know what I'm saying?
right,
But it's like this guy's just dropping truth bombs.
Yeah.
And there's this one point where she's just like,
Good.
nothing
Yeah.
to say. Yeah.
Fantastic.
But he's a professor in Canada somewhere also. And when I first caught wind of him was when all this stuff with the gender roles and stuff started popping up. So that's where he started getting a lot of heat from the left. You're sexist and all this other shit. And he's like 2 genders, not 69. And and he won me over there. And then I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast. Well, no, I heard him on Joe Rogan before, but I didn't equate the two. And then I was like, oh shit, that's this guy. And this guy's like a hero right now to a lot of people.
He looks like a Sith Lord, but I mean,
That's exactly what he looks like. This dude is intense. Like,
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Sith Lord Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, you've said that men need to, quote, grow the hell up. Tell me why.
Well, because there's nothing uglier than an old infant. There's nothing good about it. People who don't grow up don't find the sort of meaning in their life that sustains them through difficult times, and they're certain to encounter difficult times. And they're left bitter and resentful and without purpose and adrift and hostile and resentful and vengeful and arrogant and deceitful and of no use to themselves and of no use to anyone else and no partner for a woman, and there's nothing in it that's good.
So you say, I mean, that sounds pretty bad. You're saying there's a crisis of masculinity. I mean, what do you do about it?
You help people understand why it's necessary and important for them to grow up and adopt responsibility. Why that isn't a shake your finger and get your act together sort of thing. Why it's more like a delineation of the kind of destiny that makes life worth living. I've been telling young men, but it's not, I wasn't specifically aiming this message at young men to begin with. It just kind of turned out that way.
And it's mostly, you admit, it's mostly men listening. I mean, 90% of your audiences are men,
well, it's
right?
about 80% on YouTube, which is YouTube is a male domain primarily. So it's hard to tell how much of it is because YouTube is male and how much of it is because of what I'm saying. But what I've been telling young men is that there's an actual reason why they need to grow up, which is that they have something to offer, that people have within them this capacity to set the world straight, and that's necessary to manifest in the world. And that also doing so is where you find the meaning that sustains you in life.
So what's gone wrong then?
Oh, God. All sorts of things have gone wrong.
Yeah, so before he goes on, like,
I don't think that,
I already see, where he's going with this, where it's like, we got this generation of young dudes that are just growing up with this I don't give a fuck mentality. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like a conspiracy where it's like, yeah, we just got to get them to not give a fuck. And then they're not really going to do anything in life to make any change, right, worthwhile change in this world, and I think a lot of it got to do with this hip hop shit.
It's a big part of it. I mean, and I think you could look at a lot of different genres of music that dictate. And
yeah, but hip hop's the biggest, man.
And like, this is where, we get a lot of crap from women if we go on against feminists.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I make it perfectly clear, like, it's just as much the male's fault in our society for the way things are right now.
Oh, definitely.
With the whole, like,
I'd say even more
entitlement that they have, and thinking that, like, they're going to get anything by like that he says, like, being in your mother's basement, when you're 35.
Young men hear words of encouragement. Some of them never in their entire lives, as far as I can tell. That's what they tell me. And the fact that the words that I've been speaking, the YouTube lectures that I've done and put online, for example, have had such a dramatic impact is an indication that young men are starving for this sort of message, because, like, why in the world would they have to derive it from a lecture on YouTube? They're not being taught that it's important to develop yourself.
But does it bother you that your audience is predominantly male? Isn't that a bit divisive?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
as if he controls
it's no more divisive than the fact that YouTube is primarily male and Tumblr is primarily female. Isn't it? Tumblr is primarily female.
But you're just saying that's the way it is.
Well, I'm not saying anything. It's just an observation that that's the way it is. There's plenty of women that are watching my lectures and coming to my talks and buying my books. It's just that the majority of them happen to be men.
What's in it for the women, though?
Well, what sort of partner do you want? You want an overgrown child? Or do you want someone to contend with that's going to help you? And
so you're saying women have some sort of duty to sort of help fix the crisis?
It depends on what they want.
She's not ready to talk to you.
He's ready to talk to you.
It's exactly how I laid it out. Like, women deeply want men who are competent and powerful. And I don't mean power in that they can exert tyrannical control over others. That's not power. That's just corruption. Power is competence. And why in the world would you not want a competent partner? Well, I know why, actually. You can't dominate a competent partner. So
you're
if you
saying
want
women
domination,
want to dominate. Is that what you're saying?
no, I'd say women who have
we
had
felt that
their relationships impaired, their relationships with men impaired, and who are afraid of such relationships will settle for a weak partner because they can dominate them. But it's a suboptimal solution.
Do you think that's what a lot of women are doing?
I think there's a substantial minority of women who do that. And I think it's very bad for them. They're very unhappy. It's very bad for their partners, although their partners get the advantage of not having to take any responsibility.
But what gives you the right to say that? I mean, maybe that's how women want their relationships, those women. I mean, you're making these vast generalizations.
I'm a clinical psychologist.
You've done your research, and women are unhappy dominating men.
I didn't say they were unhappy dominating men. I said it was a bad long-term solution.
Okay, you said it was making them miserable.
Thing. Yes, it is. And it depends on the time.
Real quick, the one thing I noticed with relationships, it's like this curse of looking good, where you just see couples getting together just because they look good, the lust, and they stay together. And it's like, man, you're only with that girl because she got a fat ass and, whatever the case may be. And it's like, no wonder these relationships ain't working. You got with a dude that's just, his whole thing is to look like a rapper, and he ain't bringing nothing to the table but just looking cool.
Social status. Absolutely.
Yeah, no personality, no character, no drive, no goals.
Which is what he's talking about. That is not a long-term recipe for success. Like, that's going to fail.
Right.
That's why the thing that keeps, I think the sexiest thing and quality in a person is ambition and wanting to do something.
Well, with a man, for sure, most guys don't care about that with a girl. They just want her to look good, and
I'd still disagree. I think that might be this kind of like thing you say with your guy friends and you talk about, but I think deep down, even I'm not talking about she necessarily has to be like a CEO owner or some sort of celebrity.
I'm just saying that men want
you want motivation. You want a girl that gets up and getting shit done.
No doubt.
Whether it's she's taking on the classical matriarch
just be about something.
Exactly. But live your life with a purpose. Get up. Even if you have a guy's not gonna be happy. He might think he will. He might be happy getting that perfect 10 that he wants. The trophy wife. Yeah, but she sits at home and she doesn't do anything. Then he's not gonna. That's not gonna be successful.
No, I'm just saying more so with the women. They want more. They want the man to have. It's more of a shit. What the hell? It's more of a thing that the women want. They want their man to have some type of ambition more so than a man. Driven. Yeah.
I think it's changing. It's changing now. We've it's gotten a lot more progressive, but back in the day, I would
to where they can meet in the middle. But and that's why I still. And I would disagree with you because I think it's equal, and I think it's always been equal. I think just before you just had a society where males did dominate and women kind of shut their mouths, and they were never happy, sitting at home, doing nothing with their lives and not having any friends and shit like that. So I kind of to one. You can kind of level with a feminist mentality to where it's they want to be empowered to a certain extent, but it's getting to the point where it's overblown. Yeah. They're not going about it the right way.
I'm that type of man. I want my woman to at least have a hobby. Right. At least be into something.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what man would say, nah, I don't care if my wife or my girlfriend or whoever isn't into anything.
That's the reason me and you haven't gone out and bought a sex doll yet.
I think there's financial reasons behind that too.
Yeah. Waiting for that.
I mean, there can be
that upgrade.
Intense pleasure in momentary domination. That's why people do it all the time. But it's no formula for a successful long-term relationship. That's reciprocal, right? Any long-term relationship is reciprocal, virtually by definition. So,
let me put a quote to you from the book, where you say there are whole disciplines in universities forthrightly hostile towards men. These are the areas of study dominated by the postmodern neo-Marxist claim that Western culture in particular is an oppressive structure created by white men to dominate and exclude women. But then I want to put
minorities too dominate.
Okay, sure. But I want to put to you that here in the UK, for example, let's take that as an example. The gender pay gap stands at just over 9%. You've got women at the BBC recently saying that the broadcaster is illegally paying them less than men to do the same job. You've got only 7 women running the top FTSE 100 companies.
Yeah.
So it seems to a lot of women that they're still being dominated and excluded, to quote your words back to you.
It does seem that way, but multivariate analysis of the pay gap indicate that it doesn't exist.
But that's just not true, is it? I mean, that 9% pay gap, that's a gap between median hourly earnings between men and women.
But
that exists.
Yeah, but there's multiple reasons for that. One of them is gender, but it's not the only reason. Like if you're a social scientist worth your salt, you never do a univariate analysis. Like you say, well, women in aggregate are paid less than men. Okay, well, then we break it down by age, we break it down by occupation, we break it down by interest, we break it down by personality.
But you're saying basically it doesn't matter if women aren't getting to the top, because that's what's skewing that gender pay gap, isn't it? You're saying, well, that's just a fact of life. Women aren't necessarily going to get to the top.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter either.
You're saying it's a fact
there are
of
multiple
life.
reasons for it.
Yeah, but those reasons, why should women put up with those reasons? Why should women be content not to get...
It's like, I don't know if he gets to it in here, but doesn't it a big part have to do with the types of jobs women want to get?
Yeah, and he gets into that too. Okay. Because he talks about great jobs that are dominated by women in that field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, oh, women ain't in the sciences and all this other stuff. How many girls you know that are into that shit?
Right. How many male nurses do you know?
Yeah.
He's saying like shit that like quantifiable shit, and she keeps trying to like sway it in this other direction.
Yeah, she has to pay him.
It's fucking brilliant to watch. This shit is fun.
Couldn't put up with it. I'm saying that the claim that the wage gap between men and women is only due to sex is wrong, and it is wrong. There's no doubt about that. The multivariate analysis have been done. So I can give you an example.
You keep on talking about multivariate analysis.
Let me give you an example.
I'm saying that 9% pay gap exists.
Yeah.
That's a gap between men and women. I'm not saying why it exists, but it exists. Now, if you're a woman, that seems pretty unfair.
You have to say why it exists.
But do you agree that it's unfair? If you're a woman...
Not necessarily.
And on average, you're getting paid 9% less than a man. That's not fair, is it?
It depends on why it's happening. I can give you an example.
It seems like it's just way too logical.
There's a personality trait known as agreeableness. Agreeable people are compassionate and polite. And agreeable people get paid less than less agreeable people for the same job. Women are more agreeable than men.
Again, a vast generalization. Some women are not more agreeable than men.
Yes, that's true, but that's right. And some women get paid more than men.
So you were saying that by and large...
Like, there's this fucking... Like, everybody... There's this mentality of, like, there's a draw a line in the sand. You're either on this side or that side.
Yeah.
Like, no, sweetheart, some fucking ideas, like... It takes a little bit more dialogue. It takes a little bit more.
That's
like,
the thing that people don't have.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's what's great about something like this to me is like you have this woman that's like, oh, gender pay gap, and then you have a guy that's like, okay, here's facts, right?
Yep.
Here's everything that you need to know about. He's like, I've done it for you. I can lay it out for you. I'm not trying to say. And he makes it clear. He's like, in some cases, he's trying to figure out, you know, if there is an issue, and he's like, yes, sometimes sex does it, but there's a million different reasons that this exists. And I love the agreeable point because I can break that down into comedy, where it's like if you don't like work and you don't make yourself out there and stuff like that, and you're these people like to get together in comedy, and like the person that's like, everyone's funny, everyone's good and stuff like that. It's like, no, like you gotta be. I love comedians because they're super honest with you. They're non-agreeable people that are like I had a guy the other night, I bombed so hard, and this guy, I got off the stage, he's like, you really suck the energy out of this place, man.
I love it.
You have to watch that film. That was part of it. I don't mean to cut you, but that film, they're so brutally honest with each other. The Big Sick.
Oh, okay.
That was actually part of they were like,
that's where progress is made, though. Absolutely. When like you're like, if everyone's like blowing smoke up everyone's ass, thinking like that they're great every night, they're not going to be good when they hit a main stage and they start trying to tell people real jokes, and they're like, oh, I thought this shit was funny.
And it's like they just want to gloss over. Let's just focus on men get paid more than women and just stop there. Let's not get critical about this, because then we're going to break it down and we're going to see different things here, you know.
But that's the type of women that protests too, is the one that has done absolutely no research And once again, I'm not saying there isn't an issue. I'm not saying that like I don't agree with a lot of points within feminism. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying it's getting like corrupted by this kind of woman that will look at a guy like that and they'll shove their camera phone in their face and be like, "You sympathize with Nazis,"
Absolutely.
like, and he'll be like, "No, I don't." He'll be like, "I don't like Nazis," and they'll be like, "So you agree that you are a Nazi sympathizer?" And he'll be like, "No, I do not like Nazis." Yeah. And they'll be like, "I'm just putting this online so I can look like an idiot."
Yeah, and to me, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really looked into the studies, but if you can pay women less than men, then why don't these companies just hire women?
Yeah. You'd think you would save a $1 trillion
of money. You know, like, fuck, man.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I can pay these people less?
It's crazy. So, like, she's talking about these vast generalizations. I'm going to hit you guys with one vast generalization that I've noticed. In New York City, I've noticed that the gay men that lived out there, they had money. Mm-hmm. You don't really see poor gay people in New York City. I mean, you do, but
they're addicted
you know what I'm saying?
Probably Oxycontin or heroin or something.
And what I've noticed is these guys have just this positive attitude, you know, and you go into a store, I'd hire a gay person if he's always going to be cheery. Customer service is going to be great.
They're well groomed. They smell good. You know, like they're usually in great shape.
Exactly, man.
Their fashion sense is unparalleled.
It's like if you go into a restaurant manager is going to hire attractive females at the host stand.
Right.
Because the first thing that you want to see when you're coming into a restaurant is beautiful people. Yep. Right. People like beautiful people. And like, when did this thing become popular where we're like,
you shouldn't like
we shouldn't like.
So you gotta like ugly people.
Exactly.
You know, like we were talking about the Orlando Magic guy with this piece of shit on his head. Oh, and it's like, you know, this, don't judge me even if I look like a bum. No, bro, you look like a bum and I don't like looking at you. Your symmetry is off, kid. Right. Like, get out of here. You know, the Fibonacci sequence ain't working.
It's that simple. Like, the fuck out of here.
All right, let's continue.
Women are too agreeable to get the pay rises they deserve.
No, I'm saying that that's one component of a multivariate equation that predicts salary. It accounts for maybe 5% of the variance, something like that.
So surely
you
the
need
answer...
you need about another 18 factors, one of which is gender. And there is prejudice, there's no doubt about that, but it accounts for a much smaller proportion of the variance in the pay gap than the radical feminists claim.
Okay, so rather than denying the pay gap exists, which is what you did at the beginning of this conversation, shouldn't you say to women, rather than being agreeable and not asking for a pay rise, go and ask for a pay rise. Make yourself disagreeable with your boss.
Oh, definitely, there's that. But I also didn't deny it existed. I denied it existed because of gender.
Okay.
See, because I'm very,
He's too cool.
very
he even waited for her to, like, he let her get the thought.
Yeah,
and then he says, "I'm very, very careful with my words."
Yeah, I want to rewind that. Yeah, and it's like, man, this guy's got to do a course on like how to keep it cool.
What? Yeah.
Because I'd be like, bitch, I ain't say that shit.
Yeah, but that's where, and you have to be like that to make any progress.
Definitely.
Because there's, and I'll point this out. There's one point where he was kind of upset with how he responded, even though I found it like it was like the most subtle way of saying like, "I gotcha." Like, I think that's exactly what he said. But anyway, go on.
Because of gender.
Okay.
See, because I'm very, very, very careful with my words.
So the pay gap exists, you accept that, but you're saying,
that was like
the pay gap between men and women exists, but you're saying it's not because of gender, it's because women are too agreeable to ask for pay rises. So
it's one of the reasons.
Okay, one of the reasons. So why not get them to ask for a pay rise?
I've done that many, many times in my career.
And they just
I've counseled. Oh, they do it all the time. So one of the things that you do as a...
Hold on, she just answered her own question. So she's like, you know, why don't we just tell women to, you know, go in for that raise? It's like, yeah, that's what they should be doing. But you're over here trying to make policies and all this shit. Like, how about you say that to them?
She's not trying to, and this is the problem with the interview. She's not trying to find an answer. Right. She's trying to win. She's trying to win, and now she got herself in trouble, so she's searching.
Right.
Yeah, she's got these points that she wants to.
You could just, you know that feeling like when you got in trouble in class or something and your like cheeks got really red? Mm-hmm. I just feel like she feels that, you know, she just like that hotness that comes over your ears.
Yeah, she's getting hot flashes, definitely.
Clinical psychologist is assertiveness training. So you might say, often you treat people for anxiety, you treat them for depression. and maybe the next most common category after that would be assertiveness training. And so I've had many, many women, extraordinarily competent women in my clinical and consulting practice. And we put together strategies for their career development that involve continual pushing, competing for higher wages, and often tripled their wages within a 5-year period. Teaching them how to negotiate. That. Of course.
So
as if
do you agree that you would be happy if that pay gap was eliminated completely? Because that's all the radical feminists are saying.
It would depend on how it was eradicated and how the disappearance of it was measured.
And you're saying if it's at the cost of men, that's a problem?
Oh, there's all sorts of things that it could be at the cost of. It could even be at the cost of women's own interests. So
because they might not be happy if they get equal pay.
No, because it might interfere with other things that are causing the pay gap that women are choosing to do.
Like having children.
Well, or choosing careers that actually happen to be paid less, which women do a lot of.
Yeah.
But why shouldn't women have the right to choose not to have children, or the right to choose those demanding careers?
They do. They can.
What the fuck?
Who said?
I'm telling you, she's in quicksand right now.
Yo,
Where's
she's
this
throwing everything but the kitchen
Women
sink
don't
at
have
this
the right to have it.
When I tell you what happened after this interview, it'll even shock you more.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you're saying that makes them unhappy, by and large.
I'm saying that no, I'm not saying that. I actually haven't said that so far.
You're saying it makes them miserable.
No, I said that what was making them miserable was having weak partners. That makes them miserable.
Right.
I would say that many women around the age of, I would say between 28 and 32, have a career family crisis that they have to deal with. And I think that's partly because of the foreshortened time frame that women have to contend with. Like women have to get the major pieces of their life put together faster than men, which is also partly why men aren't under so much pressure to grow up. So because for the typical woman, she has to have her career and family in order pretty much by the time she's 35, because otherwise the options start to run out. And so that puts a tremendous amount of stress on women, especially at the end of their 20s.
I think I take issue with the idea of the typical woman, because, all women are different. And that's what I want to just put another quote to you from the book.
Well, they're different in some ways and the same in others.
Okay, you say women become more vulnerable when they have children.
Oh, yes.
And you talked in one of your YouTube interviews about crazy harpy sisters. So, simple question. Is gender equality a myth in your view? Is that something that's just never going to happen?
Oh, I missed that question.
Simple question. Is gender equality a myth in your view? Is that something that's just never going to happen?
It depends on what you mean by equality.
Yeah.
Being
if you
treated
mean
fairly,
men and women,
getting the same opportunities.
Fairly.
This thing with equality is just, justice and equality. It's like, so we want everybody to just get paid the same.
Yeah.
Like let's do that in a school atmosphere. Like, hey, you do your best, you do your best, you do your best. And at the end, we're just going to jumble it all up and everybody's going to get a 75.
Gets a trophy.
This gentleman is just watching this interview, man. I feel like I'm growing because he's just not like, I'm not going to just shout out an answer to entertain you.
Yeah.
Like
this guy's a shit.
He's not doing what we're doing as we watch.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
Like we're like it's sort of like Def Jam, like just like.
Hey, it is what it is.
We could get to a point where people were treated fairly or more fairly. I mean, people are treated pretty fairly in Western culture already, but we can.
But they're really not, though, are they? I mean, otherwise, why would there only be 7 women running FTSE 100 companies?
Because they don't want to do that shit.
Why would there still be a pay gap, which we've discussed at length? Why are women at the BBC saying that they're getting paid illegally less than men to do the same job? Well, that's not fair, is it?
Let's go to the first question. Those are complicated questions. Seven women. Repeat that one. There's
7 women running the top FTSE 100 companies in the UK.
Okay. Well, the first question might be, why would you want to do that?
Why would a man want to do it? There's a lot of money. It's an interesting job.
There's a certain number of men, although not that many, who are perfectly willing to sacrifice virtually all of their life to the pursuit of a high-end career. So they'll work. These are men that are
because status matters. Yeah. Right.
Well, he's talking about how this is like, and it's still like a small portion of men even that like are willing to like this, that is their life is just job.
Yeah.
Right.
They're usually very, very conscientious. They're very driven. They're very high energy. They're very healthy, and they're willing to work 70 or 80 hours a week, nonstop, specialized at one thing to get to the top.
So you're saying women are just more sensible. They don't want that because it's not a nice life.
I'm saying that's part of it, definitely. And So I work
So you don't think there are barriers in their way that prevent them getting to the top of those companies?
Oh, there are some barriers, yeah, like men, for example. I mean, to get to the top of...
Don't we have men as barriers in our way? Like, so when a woman goes to just men, bow down and just get out the way.
It's called competition.
Exactly.
Any organization is an incredibly competitive enterprise. And the men that you're competing with are simply not going to roll over and say, please take the position.
So let me come back to my question.
It's absolute all-out warfare.
Is gender equality a myth?
I don't know what you mean by the question. Men and women aren't the same, and they won't be the same. That doesn't mean they can't be treated fairly.
Is gender equality desirable?
If it means equality of outcome, then almost certainly it's undesirable. That's already been demonstrated in Scandinavia. Because in Scandinavia...
What do you mean by that? Equality of outcome is undesirable?
Well, men and women won't sort themselves into the same categories if you leave them alone to do it of their own accord. I've already seen that in Scandinavia. It's 20 to 1 female nurses to male, something like that. It might not be quite that extreme. And approximately the same male engineers to female engineers. And that's a consequence of the free choice of men and women in the societies that have gone farther than any other societies to make gender equality the purpose of the law. Those are ineradicable differences. You can eradicate them with tremendous social pressure.
Him and his
tyranny.
stupid facts.
If you leave men and women to make their own choices, you will not get equal outcomes.
Right, so you're saying that anyone who believes in equality, whether you call them feminists, call them whatever you want to call them, should basically give up because it ain't going to happen.
Only if they're aiming at equality of outcome.
So you're saying give people equality of opportunity, that's fine.
Not only fine, it's eminently desirable for everyone, for individuals and for society.
But still women aren't going to make it. That's what you're really saying.
It depends on your measurement techniques. They're doing just fine in medicine. In fact, there are far more female physicians than there are male physicians. There are lots of disciplines that are absolutely dominated by women. Many, many disciplines. And they're doing great. So...
Let me put something else to you from the book. You say the introduction of the equal pay for equal work argument immediately complicates even salary comparison beyond practicality for one simple reason. Who decides what work is equal? It's not possible. So the simple question is, do you believe in equal pay?
No. Well, I made the argument there. It's like it depends on
so
who
you don't
defines
believe
it.
in equal pay?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Because a lot of people listening to you will just... say, I mean, are we going back to the dark ages?
That's because they're actually not listening.
I'm
just
listening very
projecting
carefully,
what
and I'm
they think.
hearing you basically saying women need to just accept they're never going to make it on equal terms.
She's not listening
equal
at all.
outcomes
No,
is how you
I think she
define
is.
it.
She's too.
No, I think
If
she's
I
too
was a
smart
young
to
woman
not be
watching
listening.
that, I would go, well, I
she's
might as
just-
well just go and play with my Cindy dolls. I'd give up
Like,
trying at
anyway,
school
go back
because
to
I'm
that
not going to
real
get
quick.
the top job I want because
said
there's
that
someone
she's
sitting there
so
saying
combative.
it's not possible,
I
and it's
said
not
that
desirable,
equal
it's going to make
outcomes
you
are
miserable.
desirable. That's what...
Go and play with my...
No, I
If
didn't.
I'm ever going to make it on equal terms, equal outcomes is how you defined it.
No, I didn't
If I was
say
a
that. I
young
said that
woman
equal-
watching that, I
And
would
is
go,
it me,
well,
or is she,
I might as well...
with her rebuttals, isn't she like reinforcing some of the stereotypes?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, she's not doing herself any favors.
She's not doing
all,
any feminists any favors either.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Because like what he's trying to do is trying to present facts. And at some point, I guess he was trying to promote his book. That never happened. But like he's just trying to have a conversation with her and show her like what he thinks. And she is like, so what you're saying is women are never are gonna like
just lay down
play
and
at
give
home and like just project all these things that he's not saying.
You
at all.
want women to stay at home, make babies, and cook, right? That's what they should be doing. That's basically what she wants to pin them.
And yeah, she just said play with such
her
doll.
doll.
Just go and play with my Cindy. They're never going to make it on equal terms. Equal outcomes is how you defined it.
No, I didn't
If
say
I was
that.
a young
said
woman
that equal-
watching that, I would go, well, I might as well just go and play with my Cindy dolls and give
didn't
up
say
trying
that.
at school because I'm not going to get the top job I want because
said
there's
that
someone sitting there saying it's not possible
I
and it's
said
not
that
desirable,
equal
it's going to make
outcomes
you
aren't
miserable.
desirable. That's what I said.
Are Cindy dolls like British Barbie dolls?
I think so. I think so.
Be striving for
was
the
trying to put
top
that
or anything
together.
like
I'm
that
like,
because
yeah,
I don't
very
believe that
good.
for a second.
Striving for the top, but you're going to put all those hurdles in their way, as has been in their way for centuries, and that's fine. You're saying that's fine.
No, I really
The
think that's-
patriarchal system
I really
is
think
just
that's
fine.
silly. I do. I think that's silly. I really do. I mean, look at your situation. You're hardly unsuccessful.
Yeah, and I have
How do
battled
you
quite
manage
hard to get where I've got
Exactly.
to.
Good
So
for
that's
you.
okay. Battling is good. This is all
It's
about the fight.
inevitable.
But you talk about men
Why
fighting. I mean,
would
let me
you
just
have-
put another thing to you from the book.
Why
You're
wouldn't
saying
you have to
real-
battle for a high quality position?
Well, I notice in your book you talk about real conversations between
let's skip
men.
over that question.
That was a very
Underlying
direct
threat
question.
Of physicality.
Oh, there's
You
no
had
doubt
the
about that.
opportunity to answer that shit right then and there.
Oh, but she's not being interviewed.
Right.
He is.
Right. Let's
Women,
go
is
to
that something, or are we sort of too
Oh, there's no doubt.
men containing? Well, I notice in your book you talk about real conversations between men containing, quote, an underlying threat of physicality.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
What about real conversations between women? Is that something, or are we sort of too amenable and reasonable?
No, it's just that the domain of physical conflict is sort of off limits for you.
Well, you
it's
just said
rather
that I
unfortunate.
fought to get where I've got.
Yeah, but
What does that make me?
well,
a sort of proxy man or
I
something?
don't imagine that to some degree, I suspect you're not very agreeable.
So that's the thing. Successful women, I'm not very agreeable.
Right. I've noticed that actually in this conversation. I'm sure it served your career well.
Successful women,
Wow.
though, basically have to wear the trousers, in your view. They have to sort of become men to succeed, is what you're saying.
Well, if they're going
I've had to fight to succeed,
if they're
therefore
going to
I'm an
compete
honorary
against
man.
men, certainly masculine traits are going to be helpful. I mean, one of the things I do in my counseling practice, for example, when I'm consulting with women who are trying to advance their careers, is to teach them how to negotiate and to be able to say no and to not be easily pushed around and to be formidable. And you need to, if you're going to be successful, you need to be smart, conscientious, and tough.
Well, here's a radical idea. Why don't the bosses adopt the male bosses, shall we say, adopt some female traits so that women don't have to fight and get their sharp elbows out?
Because they wouldn't
for pay
sell
rises.
anything.
It's just accepted if they're doing the same job, they get the same pay.
Well, I would say partly because it's not
So what's she saying? What is she saying? That
The
that these bosses
should
have
start,
feminine traits.
start being agreeable and be playing with Cindy dolls. I don't know, what is she?
It's
even
like
mean by
I guess he's saying, okay, so when you go to interview a woman, or a man too, just be agreeable. Come and join my company. I mean,
your
you
2.5
filled out an app.
GPA, you'd be perfect here. And you know what's funny is like secretly she agreed like with what he said about like having to have like masculine traits in order to like advance. Like you need those things. And she's like, okay, so why don't the bosses develop some female traits? So therefore she knows deep down that like those are masculine traits just inherently and biologically.
Wow.
easy to determine what.
Wait, pause real quick. And that's another problem is like most of the men in our society have adopted too many female traits.
Right.
When it comes to like,
because they're trying to be agreeable.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with female traits, but
Yeah.
there's a reason we coexist and we're attracted to each other, and why things go round is because we are different.
Yeah, and we're in a place of it's 2018. When you think back to the 50s and how it was with men and women then, and then after the 60s and Vietnam War, how things changed and women got more empowered, and now we're in a place where I feel women have more power than men. The shit that they do, the shit they do, it's like, what the hell? You see these women walking down the street half naked. Don't you even look.
Right.
Imagine a man walking down the street with jewelry on, in a bad neighborhood or whatever.
Right.
And don't even look at me lying.
Right.
It's like you can't walk into a lion's den with steak hanging all over you and get mad when the lion's looking at you. I mean,
tears you apart.
And the power of women. I mean, like I remember going to Shepherd's one time for this show, that I hated. I never wanted to go, but I thought it'd be funny. And my brother, it was like a beach day, and it's Shepherd's. It's like a club beach outside. Yeah. So there's girls like literally saw nips all day. Yeah. And my brother wore denim jeans and got kicked out for wearing denim jeans into this place. And I'm like, there wouldn't take one of those females out that was naked. No. That would I mean, how empowered
you got to be half naked in front of drunk, horny men and nothing happens to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like which
is even scarier because you're setting yourself up for liability that something's going to happen to one of those women.
Same pay.
Well, I would say partly because it's not so easy to determine what constitutes the same job.
But that's because, arguably,
yeah,
there are still men dominating our industries, our society, and therefore they've dictated the terms for so long that women have to battle to be like the men.
No, it's not true. It's not true. So, for example,
where's the evidence?
Well, I can give you an example very quickly. So I worked with women who worked in high-powered law firms in Canada for about 15 years, and they were as competent and put together as anybody you would ever meet. And we were trying to figure out how to further their careers. And there was a huge debate in Canadian society at that point that was basically ran along the same lines as your argument, is that if the law firms didn't use these masculine criteria, then perhaps women would do better. But the market sets the damn game. It's like...
And the market is dominated by men.
No,
so
it's not. It's not.
You,
the market is dominated by women. They make 80% of the consumer decisions. That's not the case at all.
If you're talking
80%.
about people who stay at home looking after children, by and large, they are still women. So they're going out doing the shopping. But that is changing.
They make all the consumer decisions.
Okay, so
the market is driven by women, not men.
Right.
Okay, and if you're a lawyer in Canada...
And they still pay more for the same sort of goods.
Right.
That's been proven, that men, you buy a blue bicycle helmet, it's going to cost less than a pink one. Anyway, we'll come on to that.
It's partly because men are less agreeable. Right, so they won't put up with it.
I want to ask you, is it not desirable to have some of those female traits you're talking about? I'd say that's a generalization, but you've used the words female traits. Is it not desirable to have some of them at the top of business? I mean, maybe there wouldn't have been a banking crisis.
They don't predict success in the workplace. The things that predict success in the workplace are intelligence and conscientiousness. Agreeableness negatively predicts success in the workplace. And so does high negative emotion.
You're saying that women aren't intelligent enough to run these top companies?
No, I didn't say that at all.
You said that female traits don't predict success.
But I didn't say that intelligence wasn't. I didn't say that intelligence and conscientiousness
Well, you were saying that intelligence
female
and conscientiousness by implication are not female traits.
No.
I mean, that's very dangerous territory.
I'm not saying that at all.
Are women less intelligent than men, by and large?
No, they're not. No, the data on that's pretty clear. The average IQ for a woman and the average IQ for a man is identical. There is some debate about the flatness of the distribution, which is something that James Damore pointed out, for example, in his memo, but there's no difference at all in general cognitive ability. There's no difference to speak of in conscientiousness. Women are a bit more orderly than men, and men are a little bit more industrious than women. But the difference isn't big. But that averages into conscientiousness.
Plenty of men who aren't necessarily as
industrious. Of course.
But female traits, though, why are they not...
Feminine traits.
Why are they not desirable at the top of... Feminine traits, why are they not desirable at the top of business?
It's hard to say. I'm just laying out the empirical evidence. Like we know the traits that predict success.
But we also know, because companies by and large have not been dominated by women over the centuries, we have nothing to compare it to. It's an experiment.
True, and it could be the case that if companies modified their behavior and became more feminine, that they would be successful. But there's no evidence for it. I'm not neither doubtful nor non-doubtful. There's no evidence for it.
So why not give it a go, as the radical feminists would say? Because the evidence suggests,
well, it's fine. If someone wants to start a company and make it more feminine and compassionate, let's say, and caring in its overall orientation towards its workers and towards the marketplace, then that's a perfectly reasonable experiment to run. My point is that there is no evidence that those traits predict success in the workplace. And there's
because it's never been tried.
Well, that's not really the case. Women have been in the workplace for, at least ever since I've been around, the representation of women in the workplace has been about 50%. So we've run the experiment for a fairly reasonable period of time, but not, certainly not for centuries.
Let me move on to another debate that's been very controversial for you. And this is, you got in trouble for refusing to call trans men and women by their preferred personal pronouns.
No, that's not actually true. I got in trouble because I said I would not follow the compelled speech dictates of the federal and provincial government. I actually never got in trouble for not calling anyone anything.
Right.
That didn't happen.
You wouldn't follow the change of law, which was designed
not
to
once it was
outlaw
law.
discrimination.
No. Well, that's what they said it was designed to do.
Okay, you cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. Like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Bang!
Well, I'm very glad that I've exercised my freedom of speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on. And that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and... I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
Your pause.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gotcha, Rich. Oh, my God.
This is the clip right here that everybody's...
this is
sharing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That is great. I just had to fucking bask in that real fast.
And it's like this whole thing where it's like, where's this non-offensive virtue coming from? Like, if you're not offensive, I mean, shit. Like he says, if you have the freedom to think, that means you have the freedom to be offensive. I mean, you won't say shit because you don't know what's going to offend somebody. You know, it's just like, oh, just stay quiet. It's just,
well, not to mention, I think he makes it really clear too, in a lot of his lectures. And this is where people like, you know, misinterpret this as like, people are like, oh, so you're just going to go around saying slurs about people and that's okay or whatever. He's like, no. He's like, I'm not saying it's okay to say certain words, you know, not necessarily that you should make it illegal or something like that. Right. But he's like, I'm just saying you shouldn't force me to say whatever you want me to say at the same time.
Right. And that's the thing where they got these new words coming up for transgender people where you can't say he or she or him or her. You got to say cis or I don't know.
Well, my favorite was still like the Latinx or whatever.
The Latinx, yeah. You heard about that one? You can't, because Latin, you know, we got the O and the I, it's male and masculine, how Latin is. And it's like, they want to abolish this Latino or Latina, it's Latinx. Yeah, it'll never happen.
Do you know how mad their
Hispanic
Latina grandmothers would be at the Society of Children they're creating? They'd like slap them in the face.
Yeah.
This non-binary shit. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so I got to ask you what you associate with. Yeah. I got to ask you, what hole do you like putting your thing in?
Yeah. Right.
Or what hole do you like to be played with? Oh, okay. You know, there's people, you got, I'm a worm. I'm worm self. I'm a worm like, so I got to call, like, what? I could get put in jail because I don't call you by the pronoun that you want me to?
Right.
Got me. You have got me. I'm trying to work that through.
Ha, gotcha.
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me. You have got me. I'm trying to work that through in my head. Yeah, it took a while.
It did, yeah.
It took a while. You have voluntarily come into the studio.
Do you see,
and agreed
real
to be
quick,
questioned.
did you see like the difference in the way she started talking there for a second and then she snapped back into it real quick? Mm-hmm. Like where she was like, yeah, you did get me there for a second. Anyways, back to why you're wrong and I'm right.
Back to the unagreeableness.
Like she almost became a real person again.
Right.
But
like, wow, that click.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A trans person in your class has come to your class and said they want to be called
that's never happened. And I would call them she.
So you would. So you've kind of changed your tune on that.
No, I said that right from the beginning. What I said at the beginning was that I was not going to cede the linguistic territory to radical leftists, regardless of whether or not it was put in law. That's what I said.
And
then the people who came after me said,
jail for that?
You must be transphobic and you mistreat a student in your class.
It's scary shit,
I never
man.
mistreated.
That's on some like 1984, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine being in prison? Like, why are you here? Okay, you're a guy, right? And you'd be like, yeah. It's like, well, I called you a guy. That's why I'm here.
Right.
I stabbed somebody. Cool. Get along just fine.
That would be weird.
Student in my class. I'm not transphobic, and that isn't what I said.
Well, except you've also called trans campaigners authoritarian, haven't you? I mean, isn't that
well, only in the broader context of my claims that radical leftist ideologues are authoritarian,
yes,
which they are.
You're saying someone who's trying to work out their gender identity, who may well have struggled with that, had quite a tough time over the years.
With it, yeah.
You're comparing them with, you know, Chairman Mao, who
saw
the deaths of millions of people. Well, even if the activists, you know, they're trans people too. They have a right to say these things.
Yeah, but they don't have a right to speak for their whole community.
To compare them to Chairman Mao or, you know, I could Pinochet, Augusto Pinochet. I mean, you know, this is grossly insensitive.
No, I didn't compare.
So she's equating being the authoritarian to communist murderers.
He made the comparison. He made the comparison that the activists, not transgenders, but the activists, was a comparable parallel. There was a parallel between the activists, the way they were acting, and the way that General Mao dictated his people.
All right.
He wasn't saying this is going to result these people are going to kill millions of people. He was just saying
it's what she's saying pretty much.
Right. She's once again putting words in his mouth.
Well,
I did compare them to
he was an authoritarian.
He's a right winger, though. I was comparing them to the left wing totalitarians. Okay. And I do believe they are left wing totalitarians.
Under Mao, millions of people died.
Right.
I mean, there's no comparison between Mao and a trans activist, is there?
Why not?
Because trans activists aren't killing millions of people?
The philosophy that's guiding their utterances is the same philosophy.
The consequences are...
Not yet.
You're saying that
Not
trans
yet.
activists
No.
could lead to the deaths of millions of people. What
No,
they're
I'm
doing-
saying that the philosophy that drives their utterances is the same philosophy that already has driven us to the deaths of millions of people.
Okay, tell us how that philosophy
She's like, fit my
is in
narrative.
any way comparable.
Sure, that's no problem. The first thing is that the philosophy presumes that group identity is paramount. That's the fundamental philosophy that drove the Soviet Union and Maoist China. And it's the fundamental philosophy of the left-wing activists. It's identity
collectivism.
politics. Doesn't matter who you are as an individual. It matters who you are in terms of your group identity.
You're just
That's
saying these
murderous-
things, though, to provoke, aren't you? I mean,
Not
you
a
are a
bit.
provocateur.
I never say
You're like
anything-
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. You want to stir things up.
I'm only a provocateur insofar as when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative. I don't provoke. Maybe for
You don't
humor
set out to
now
provoke.
and then. I'm not interested in provoking.
But what
Not in
about the thing
least.
about, fighting and the lobster? Tell us about the lobster.
Back to the lobsters.
Well, that's quite a segue. Well, the first chapter I have in my book is called Stand Up Straight with Your Shoulders Back. And it's an injunction to be combative, not least to further your career, let's say, but also to adopt a stance of ready engagement with the world and to reflect that in your posture. And the reason that I write about lobsters is because there's this idea that hierarchical structures are a sociological construct of the Western patriarchy. And that is so untrue that it's almost unbelievable.
Yep.
And I use the lobster as an example because the lobster, we divulged from lobsters in evolutionary history about 350 million years ago, common ancestor. And lobsters exist in hierarchies, and they have a nervous system attuned to the hierarchy. And that nervous system runs on serotonin, just like our nervous systems do. And the nervous system of the lobster and of the human being is so similar that antidepressants work on lobsters. And it's part of my
There's a
attempt to
question.
demonstrate that the idea of hierarchy has absolutely nothing to do with sociocultural construction.
So I grabbed one of those things out of a tank and he could have some Xanax in him or something.
Let's drop of like a whole bunch of
Yeah,
them in the
yeah,
tank, you know?
Is that what I'm allergic
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, I mean, like, we
Did
should
you notice
try
that
it. Like,
lobster's parked out in front of the TV watching Lifetime right now?
you see how small that lobster is? He ain't growing. He ain't growing.
They're just looking like outside of the aquarium tank, like antidepressant commercial. Looking through the
man.
seaweed.
He's killing it, man. She needs to stop.
Yeah, man.
Which it doesn't.
Let me just get this straight. You're saying that we should organize our societies along the lines of the lobsters.
I'm saying that it's
There you are.
inevitable that there will be continuity in the way that animals and human beings organize their structures. It's absolutely inevitable. And there is 1/3 of a billion years of evolutionary history behind that. Right? That's so long that 1/3 of a billion years ago, there weren't even trees. It's a long time. You have a mechanism in your brain that runs on serotonin that's similar to the lobster mechanism that tracks your status. And the higher your status, the better your emotions are regulated. So as your serotonin levels increase, you feel more positive emotion and less negative emotion.
So you're saying, like the lobsters, we're hardwired as men and women to do certain things, to sort of run along tram lines, and there's nothing we can do about it.
No, I'm not saying there's nothing we can do about it. Because
nothing we can do about it.
it's
There's
like
nothing we can do about it.
In a chess game, right, there's lots of things that you can do, although you can't break the rules of the chess game and continue to play chess. And your biological nature is somewhat like that, is it sets the rules of the game, but within those rules you have a lot of leeway. But the idea but one thing we can't do is say that hierarchical organization is a consequence of the capitalist patriarchy. It's like, that's patently absurd. It's wrong. It's not a matter of opinion. It's seriously wrong.
Aren't you just whipping people up into a state of anger and
Not at all.
divisions?
You know, because we must believe it's about the
my-
capitalist patriarchy.
I just love that she's like
It's 'cause that-
after this entire interview, she's still like, aren't you're just trying to burn the world down. And he's like, no.
It's because they got their investments in all these things where they believe this society and this world is going, you know? So it's like, no, don't smash that paradigm. That's what he's
The other
doing.
thing that upsets me about this is like people might tune into her like next show, you know, like because they saw this one.
Yeah, not me.
men and women, you're stirring people up. You know, you have
You
any
don't say that.
critics
She had
of
Milo
you
on. It was
online
interesting.
get
Oh, what?
absolutely lambasted by your followers. You've
And
got to
by
call
me,
them off, haven't
generally.
you? Sorry, your critics get lambasted by you. I mean,
if
isn't
they're
that
academics.
irresponsible?
Not at all. If an academic is going to come
Okay.
after me and tell me that I'm not qualified and that I don't know what I'm talking about,
So
like,
you're
it's
not going to say
seriously
to your
not the
followers
same.
now, quit the abuse, quit the anger.
Well, we'd need some substantial examples of the abuse and the anger before I could detail that question.
There's a lot of it out there.
Let's take a more general perspective on that. So I've had 25,000 letters since June, something like that, from people who told me that I've brought them back from the brink of destruction. And so I'm perfectly willing to put that up against the rather vague accusations that my followers are making the lives of people that I've targeted miserable.
Jordan Peterson, thank you.
My pleasure. Nice talking with you.
My pleasure. It's crazy. So what happened after?
So
wowzers.
The day after this happened, like, I'd say even feminists were like, this girl is nuts. Like, this guy like came out with a lot of good evidence or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything was going well. But even Jordan Peterson said like, it was a victory, but it wasn't like, it was not the victory he sought. He was looking like for like progress with people. He wanted like a real discussion, not her trying to like, so you're saying like, kind of conversation.
He was hoping that maybe she might think a little bit different after this.
And maybe she would bring some facts to the table.
Right.
And so what happened is 2 days after this, she claims like that there was serious threats made against her and had a police investigation against like some serious threats that were coming after. And it was like a complete cover for just feel bad for me. Play that victim card once again.
So who's she saying she's getting these threats from? Men?
I don't doubt that. Like, there's probably not some people on there. Like, so there's crazy people on the internet.
Right. So
and it's like even though like Jordan Peterson is like a rational guy, he's probably gonna have crazy people like let's say Nazis. You can't help who's gonna be like and say whatever they want to and use him as like their like tool. But so it's not impossible that she couldn't have received threats. But at the same time, she was like posting it on Instagram. Like, I'm just like bunkered down right now, and all like just brought the attention back to herself because she knew that she got slaughtered in that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That chick was scrambling.
I can continue if you want.
But you could still look at her and you could say like she doesn't seem like a dumb person, and she seems ambitious and stuff like that. She just picked the wrong person to like. I feel like she could have manipulated a lot of people that were like less agreeable but less knowledgeable, and she could have made them look stupid and presented her stupid ass theories as the truth.
Yeah, I think people naturally like they get really defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he was the type of dude that like was to get fucking defensive, she probably would have. She probably would have succeeded in whatever whatever the fuck that was that she was trying to do.
Exactly.
But he was just too.
He ain't having none of that.
And I'm sorry, but it is a typical woman thing to like when they're in the corner, and they're the ones that are wrong. Which I'm saying typically most of the time, men are wrong. We'll just go with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely.
It's usually us. But like when you are wrong, you get backed into a corner and you just start unleashing things that make absolutely no sense, or bringing up topics that are completely unrelated.
Yeah. So you can start chasing that one.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at you getting all your panties in a bunch. You're like, you just brought some irrational shit to the table. I can't let that thing live. It's got to die now. So I just say, you know what? Let me Google this. How many female CEOs? And on fortune.com, they have a long list here. Let me just run down a few of them. Mary Barra, General Motors, CEO of General Motors.
Wow.
Ginny Rometty, IBM. Indira Nooyi, Pepsi. Bro, these are pretty big companies. I mean, what?
Right.
I've never heard of them.
Marilyn Houston, Lockheed Martin. I mean, a war machine, making weapons, a woman.
She looks like the Republican Hillary Clinton.
Oh, shit.
Yo, what? Yeah, she does.
Like pantsuit, like
Tony Stark's mom.
Safra Catz, Oracle. Phoebe, General Dynamics. Trisha, Progressive.
Oh, I thought it was Flo that owned it.
Lynn Good, Duke Energy.
Yeah, screw you, Lynn.
Yeah, screw you.
Yeah, but I mean, you see, like most of the guys that run the companies, you probably wouldn't like them either, you know?
Yeah,
it's
I got a thing.
But it's hits home with us, so that's why we hate her.
Yeah,
not because she's a female.
Geisha Williams, PG&E. There's a long ass list here of female CEOs. How come nobody ever brings this up? I mean, how are these women getting to the top?
Because they're gonna go with the classic, like, it's not many compared to the amount of men. But I think he just makes very good points that, like, you know, like, it's a very, even for a guy, like, I'm not gonna do it, and I'm not complaining about it. I'm not trying to be the CEO of a company. Like, there's just a certain person that is going to, like, and I'm gonna tell you, like, I would imagine the men or women that get to the top, I'm not like, who says they're good, decent people? Right. I would imagine there's a fair amount of backstabbing and, you know, stepping all over people to get to the top. Absolutely. When have you ever seen a good documentary about a corporation?
Right.
Or a good movie? It's always involved something that there's some evil in this person.
Right. Yeah, they're greedy or some shit. They did some.
Why do you want to own the place? Like, and I think he even asked her, like, why? Okay, why do you want to do it? Like, why do you want to own it? And to think like these guys, like, to me, I guess I'm considered more feminine in that way, to where, like, I'm not willing to sacrifice that in order to have that.
Yeah.
Like, I look at it from a more sensible, like, what's really going to make me happy? I only got one shot at this life. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sitting here complaining like I'm not going to try to be CEO. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most guys that are trying to be CEO and make all this money, they're, in their mind, it's all about status.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a whole different mentality than I have.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that one day.
Most women, too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, most women would want to stay home and not go to work. That's what I want to do. I don't want to go to work. I want to do what I want to do.
It's like the female comedian Ali Wong. When she got up, she's like, women, you're ruining it for the rest of us. We got a good thing going here. Like,
you know? Yeah. I was like, hey, you go to work all day, deal with bullshit people, and I stay in here in air conditioning. And Bill Burr has something about that. How women got it so bad they're at home with the kids.
Right. Bending over to put DVDs into DVD players in there. But he's like, any job you can do in your pajamas is not hard, all right? And Jason, I'll compare it to you. It's like, I'm not even saying like I would never want to like not own my own business one day, because that's way different than like you're talking about CEOs of companies that have been established for like forever.
Right.
And it's just a different drive. You probably have a different drive when it comes to like, you know, like what you want to do, and you see a different avenue of how you want to get it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, for me, as far as like my level of entrepreneurship, it's not so much to get paid and get rich. Definitely I want to pay my bills, but it's more about just doing what I want to do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Leveraging my time and being free.
Freedom.
You know,
the freedom. That's the main thing. Freedom. You know, to do
I think
what I want.
It's freedom and like, I think the most important thing is like waking up every day and having a purpose to what you're doing. I think that's really what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, the freedom of association, of who I'm hanging with, the freedom to be where I want, when you want, with who I want. And that's, I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Right.
You know, and they're like, no, you're trying to keep us home. I don't know. This
isn't the 50s. You don't have to. I think they're making arguments against people that aren't ever going to exist in their lives.
Yeah, I think they're just bringing up shit that don't matter, so we don't pay attention to the shit that does matter.
This chick isn't like that's doing this news isn't going to end up with a guy and all of a sudden find herself trapped at home with kids, you know? Like, she's going to date who she wants to date, and like
nobody's forcing her to not have kids.
Yeah, she's got if she has a husband, it's the kind of guy that she probably beats.
She's probably a cuckold or something. Speaking of that, did you see that article CNN came out with the other day talking about it's healthy for men to let their women sleep with other men?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much for some couples it's healthy.
For some couples everything's healthy. Like every couple's going to be different.
Right.
I don't know, but I thought it was fake when I saw it. I was like, this.
Oh no, that sounds like CNN.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you say that too, because that her husband probably has those effeminate qualities and shit that she was saying that top people should that they should have, but she probably, you know, that's probably something. She probably looks at him as that shit being a weakness.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, so the very thing that you want us to adopt is the very thing that you probably fucking destroy your husband for around the house and shit.
Here it goes. I got it. cuckolding can be positive for some
I can't
couples.
believe that's not a real article. Is this The Onion?
It is. That's what I thought.
Wow.
I think The Onion doesn't exist anymore, do they?
Yeah, they do.
They do?
I love that.
Bro, like this is crazy. I haven't read it yet, goodness.
I just want you to read the title of this article one more time and swear to you right now, this is on CNN's actual website.
This is on CNN.com.
This is not a lie.
Cuckolding can be positive for some couples, study says, by Ian Kerner.
This was at 12 a.m. January 25th. If you ever want to look this up before they delete it.
Yeah, 2018.
I love the picture too.
I was going to tell you, Bobby, describe that picture for me, please.
This is like the you know, the couple, the classic meme that's going around where the boys turned around.
Yeah.
This is like if she got both of them or something. Like it was a reverse, and the girl was looking at two guys, and she's just walking away with both. This is so weird.
Yeah, this is. So
I'm not saying it's not wrong too, though. By the way, like there's some crazy people out there that would be totally
no,
okay.
Definitely, and probably who it works for is right. This guy here, the one holding her, he's probably her main. He's the provider. He's the one that probably brings in the cash, and then this guy is the penis,
right?
And he can't satisfy her, and he wants to keep her so much as his trophy wife. And he's like, "Damn, babe, all right, as long as you stay in my life, you can have." You're gonna have whatever.
That's an unbelievable.
That's what's happening, bro.
Yeah.
That is what's happening.
I think there's got to be some sort of gayness involved, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think there has to be some sort of thing where he's like okay with like, guys, and maybe it's bisexuality. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, they could be. They could be for what they call beards. Yeah. With a guy, he's not really. Well, no, that's more of a gay thing. Like when a guy gets with the. When she's a lesbian, but she needs a husband to make it look like she's not a lesbian, but
for like because she's running a business.
Once it gets to that point, I'm not putting anything fucking past you. Like, Lord knows what the fuck you're allowing in your.
But you can look at it and be like, those people are very
open,
very comfortable with who they are in their situation.
Do what you want. Hey, I'm not going to tell you how to live and what holes to play with, but man, that's crazy. I don't know. I would like to talk to Ian.
I can't believe they're using that term. I think that's what blows my mind more than anything. This has become like an actual word.
Yeah, because you could say shithole on TV now.
That's why I said I was like, people want to act like Trump's not doing a good job. We can say shithole on TV now.
Yeah, it's almost like when presidents do something, it's like they legitimize it for everybody else. Once Bill Clinton got his dick sucked, it was like, well, it's nothing. You know what I'm saying? But prior to that, it was a big thing. Now it's like, that's nothing. It's almost the same thing now with saying shitholes on TV.
Well, that's what blows my mind is like, we can't like extreme liberals and extreme right can never just understand like the absolute hypocrisy on both sides. Cause it's like, can you imagine right now if Donald Trump got a blowjob in the Oval Office and what TV would do to him? And in my opinion, rightfully so. I don't think he should be doing that as a president.
Yeah.
But with Bill Clinton, it was like, damn, Bill.
Yeah.
Like the left was totally like,
oh, he's black.
What do you, yeah.
He plays jazz and he's
like guys were high-fiving each other in the streets that were liberal fans. It's like, okay.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah. I think both sides are good. I think if you believe anything, like if you believe any of those people have your best interest at heart and you would adore these people or look up to them in any sort of way, and maybe there's a few that you could. I don't know him.
I don't know him either. I don't know anybody that's just a regular loving person. How can they just have everybody's interests in mind and just be?
Yeah, I think there's definitely got to be some people that are trying to do the right thing. Some people, but I think it's so much more like I'm talking about politicians. Like there's got to be a couple in there that are trying to do the right thing. But I think there's so much the minority, and that's also the reason they'll never make it that far
at all.
Because you have to have like some sort of extreme. Look at how Trump became president. It was the inverse of the Obama supporters after 8 years of Bush, and everyone looks at like Bush and Obama administration. There really wasn't a big difference between their policies,
right?
But everyone came up with those shirts like "Miss Me Now." It's like, oh, what you missed more drone strikes than any policy that Bush ever did. Like he was the same guy. He's just smooth.
Yeah, it's identity politics, like he was saying. It's all about the person and how cool they are, and or how American they are. People aren't voting on policies at all.
No. That's why I think the loser of the presidency, like it goes head to head, right? Like it normally does. And then that person gets to be vice president. That way both of them have to figure it out.
Hold on, say that again?
Like let's take this past election.
Okay.
Trump should be president. Hillary should be vice president. I know, it sounds awful, right? But think of the balance. Think of like you have the extremes of both sides, and maybe that's where you get policy that's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Wow. Or how about no more president? Star Wars had it right, where they just had the big tribune of like people and they voted on shit. You know, there wasn't that one person that was like, all right, well, I say no to that one.
Right.
Yeah. As far as me with government, my whole thing is just a tax thing, you know, where it's like we just get taxed. We don't know where this money's going. It's just, hey, you're part of this society. You were born here. So, yeah, you got to pay this. And it's like, can I get an itemized bill at least? Can I know where my money is going?
Absolutely.
That'll be nice.
Absolutely not. But if you don't pay your taxes, we will hunt you down the rest of your life.
Exactly. Or can I get a form and check off on like, okay, look, mandatory. You got to pick one of these 50 things, you know, or, you know, 25%.
We should get to pick where our money is going.
Yeah,
because I'm still wondering why I'm paying tolls.
I hate tolls, bro.
Oh, I thought like that's what taxes were for, like roads and stuff like that.
I told you before, I was at a toll booth one time. I had to meet somebody there, and I said, you know what? Let me count how many cars come past me before I got to get out of here, bro. I was in at least 5 minutes, hundreds and hundreds of cars. Wow. 125, 125, 125, 120, and that's here. Right. Imagine in New York. On George Washington Bridge.
You should.
What are they doing with that money?
One day, what if you just like came up to a toll and just put like an out of order sign, and then you just had a vest on? You're like, yeah, I'm just collecting them today. You're just like shoving money in your pocket.
The way people would just respect the thought. Oh, he's got a badge on. Yeah, he's right.
Like, oh yeah, he has on a fucking reflective vest.
I trust him. I trust him.
Yeah, I trust that.
I would have hit him if I didn't see that. Before we sign off real quick, I just wanted to ask you, are you still like active in hip hop
music? Yeah, absolutely. I am in the process of recording an EP, and it kind of had to take a back seat. I had to pause on it because the studio where I was recording all my music shut down recently.
Oh man.
But I'm still pushing, man. I'm still gonna do it. It's called Off Broadway. And I actually, on my Instagram right now, I gave the first sample off of it.
Oh,
like a small snippet of it. So,
do you have a SoundCloud or anything?
I do. It's Brody Griswold Music. So, yeah, that's it.
What's the Instagram? How do they find you on Instagram?
The Instagram is Brody Griswold. I don't use Twitter much, but I mean, if anybody wants to follow me on that shit, it's at Brody Grizz, GRIZZ.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, shit. I think that's it.
You do live shows in the area at all?
Man, I haven't been on stage in some time, man. I would love to though. I always kind of, and I tell Adi this all the time. Like I'm always waiting for things to be perfect in order for me to like, you know, in order for me to make a move, and that shit is terrible.
Perfectionist.
Yeah, I'm a fucking perfectionist, and that's terrible.
That's why we got this sloppy ass podcast. Yeah. It's like if we keep waiting for this thing to be perfect.
Yeah, I'm always waiting to have. I'm like, well, you know, I have to have material, and
right.
To, you know.
I was the same way with music, but it's like, you know, we talked about before. Sometimes you just got to struggle,
right?
And then you realize, like, especially if you take a long break from doing it, you're like, man, I miss this. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's I miss that shit. So hopefully, well, not hopefully, no. You know what? I'm gonna hold myself accountable this time around. I'm gonna actually
there you go.
Finish.
That's what people
finish the
tell
damn
me.
EP.
You're not gonna hope anything. You're gonna do it or you're not gonna do it.
Right. Do or do not.
There is no try.
Yeah, there is no try. So I will finish the EP.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Finish the EP. I will. Fuck that.
That little green dude was wise, wasn't he?
Yeah. So once again, before we sign off, I just want to remind you guys about the Jordan Peterson book, The 12 Rules of Life, The Antidote to Chaos. I'm going to be picking it up. If you guys pick it up, that'd be great.
Hell yeah. Shit. After that interview, whatever he does.
Yeah, that's what I hope I did.
Fuck that. That's my dude now.
We inspired some people to
How do I follow Jordan Peterson on Instagram?
That's my guy.
Yeah.
I think that's
awkward pause. Oh yeah, Bobby. Mentioned where you performing again. You mentioned, I think a couple open mic nights.
Yeah,
that kind of.
I don't invite anyone to the open mics.
Oh no, okay.
Well, like because it's just practice. It's just like it would be like telling someone to come over for band practice or something like that. Like, come see me at band practice. I'll be at Todd's house. No, I'm going. I got the tournament coming up. I do actually have a show Wednesday night at O'Brien's in Brandon.
Okay.
It's actually one of the first shows I'm going to be a part of, which is cool. Hosted by Zach Rippey. John Jacobs will be the featuring comedian.
Nice.
And he just did some shows with Chris D'Elia. So,
did he?
Yeah,
very
funny dude.
In Tampa, yeah.
Yeah. We've had him on the podcast. Very funny dude. So come on out. That's Brandon at 9:30 at O'Brien's Irish Pub. Should be interesting to say the least. Come and watch me bomb. Come and watch them be funny. It'll be good. And then Side Splitters February 18th for the
I'll be there.
Side Splitters comedy tournament. Fine, I don't know what it's called, but
third annual,
it's something like third annual. Right? Yeah,
third annual tournament comedy.
So,
tournament, some shit like
something about being funny.
Yeah, the other guys any good? We're gonna
yeah.
You're the only funny one.
I'm fourth best. No, they're very funny. Jander Gray, Vinny Ward, Todd Stimmel.
Okay,
those are the competitors. It'll be fun. They're funny dudes. You'll have a good time.
Yeah, come on out, have a good time. The tickets are about to be sold out. It'll be awesome if we see some of you guys in.
Yeah, and if you actually are serious about coming out, put in the promo code Bobby at the Side Splitters checkout. It's on the Side Splitters website. After you select your seats, just type in Bobby and you get 50% off. What a deal.
It's a good deal. Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys, that's it for this episode.
Thank you, Jason, for coming on.
Man, thank you guys.
Definitely.
Thank you guys. This was a lot of fun.
I hope you come back.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. You ain't going to keep me out of here. No, it's over with.
Cool.
And remember, friends don't let friends
drive junk.
That's right. Peace.
The only thing in our society that bothers me the most is the way that men and women don't get along no more. That's really what's bugging me about it. Men and women just don't get along. Like I hear women say this all the time. I know a lot of you sisters be like, chivalry is dead. Don't you? Don't y'all feel that way? Like men aren't gentlemen anymore? That's right. Chivalry is dead. And women killed it. There's a fundamental difference in the way we're going to see things. We're not going to see eye to eye on this issue. We're just not. Our tests in life are different. A woman's test in life is material. A man's test in life is a woman. Now, by test, I mean that those are the things that we desire. Men have nice cars. Not because they like nice cars, because they know women like nice cars. That's how it goes. Because men are hunters, and the car is the bait. And a woman comes and says, ooh, nice Porsche. Gotcha, bitch. That's how it is.
Ha, gotcha.